So I figure while I'm just like taking a video of this beautiful snow we got going on, I'm going to go ahead and talk carnivore. I was just thinking about why I started and if it was like hindsight or foreshadowing. And I thought my childhood and all through my life, I'm 65, so I know that I've always eaten meat. I'll bet you every day. Once in a while, I guess I was able to survive off a pickle sandwich or something. My mother was not a good cook. I do know that when I was younger. I was glad to find out about A1 sauce and Worcestershire sauce because what she made was stringy roasts. That wasn't fun. But I had hot dogs, hamburgers, sometimes steak. Buckeye's too short to go out under the snow. He'll get lost. But I've always eaten meat. There were times when Mom would be making meatloaf or something like that, and I would sneak in the kitchen and grab a little bit of meat, a meatball out of the raw hamburger, walk away, salt it up, and eat it raw. And then as I got bigger, I was able to grab a knife and slice off a corner of a roast and eat that raw with salt on it. And I did that through my whole life, even when I had kids. I had a beef tax, and I would, take a little bit of their hamburger, put salt on it. I would cut a little slice off their steaks, my husband's steaks too. Go ahead, come on, Bill, one out. And, eat that raw. Is that it, huh? You're so silly. God, this is nice out here. But I've always eaten meat. My mom was a bad cook, and I had nothing to compare it to really until I got to be a teenager and got to eat at my friends' houses. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this what cooking really is? Which I hope I learned from some of their moms. And my kids really didn't complain. And we always fried chicken in bacon grease for my whole life. Made steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs, stuff like that. But we still always had buns and French fries and cereal. The kids had bacon and eggs or cereal, whichever. I never bought them. I never bought the Fruity Pebbles or anything like that. It was always Cheerios and rice. What is it? Rice Chex, that kind of a thing. I used to love shredded wheat. Are you guys going out? Are you guys all done? Totally? All right, then. But, so I don't know if that was foreshadowing on this carnivore thing or hindsight. It's probably hindsight now that I know how much better it makes me feel. I always felt satisfied when I had meat. Even after a divorce and I'd go out with men and stuff, we always went out for steaks and burgers and still always with the bun because that's the way we do it. Now, I guess I don't need buns. I can eat it without it. I always could. But the thing is I started this because I like to watch Joe Rogan, all of his interviews, except for the muscle guys and the wrestling and stuff, and where Sean Baker was in with one of those. And so I kind of skipped on that, but I also followed Jordan Peterson, and then I heard his story. I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm so glad he got better and stuff. And then he mentioned his daughter, and I looked her up, and she had been through so much, and that helped her so much. Well, in the meantime, I'm here with a walker right now. Usually I've had a cane for the last 8 years or so, but what I would do if I was to bend down my bad leg, I would always stick behind me for the balance part, and squat on the one leg. And one day, not too long ago, my daughter come walking in the room and she didn't see me and she just sideswiped my leg, and I'm like, oh my God, that hurt. So, and the pain was so bad, I just didn't want to move it. I just, barely moved it. So so I went and got a walker, and and then, I can't even sit on like soft, cushy things like their furniture because they're younger. They're 40s. They married when they were in their 30s, and so they had this soft, cushy furniture and stuff. My gosh. How do you sit on that? I couldn't hardly even get up. But I have a hard chair to sit on. And then whenever we eat at the dining room table, it took me a few minutes. It reminded me of my older uncles, like getting up like, ugh, stuff like that. But I resigned myself to, that's what it was. I had fallen down the steps back in like 98, fallen down my basement steps. And what I did, I played fast, I worked fast, I drove fast, I did everything fast. I worked, and at that point I was a single mom, and I just worked. And I always worked physical jobs because that way I didn't have to go out and exercise anything. So I always did physical jobs. I loved it. I made good money. I fell down these basement steps. I kind of, sat around for about half an hour, make sure I wasn't broken or anything. And it was before I was going to work, and I got up, felt good, did not have pain, went ahead, got dressed, went to work. And I went to work for about 4 years. 4 years, and then someone told me I was limping. Well, I didn't notice it. And I didn't notice it, but I guess I did hurt myself somewhere. And but it didn't bother me. I just kept on working. I worked for like 6 years after that fall. And I went to a new job, more money, all that good stuff. Working like crazy, and it was Valentine's Day 2004, and I had been working 12 hours at the time, and this was running on 20 acres worth of 20 acres of land with all those buildings, and I ran around making sure everything was there, blah blah blah, whatever. Long day, and I thought, okay. And I smoked it. I still smoke. I smoked at the time, and I thought, you know what? 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to go and have a cigarette break. And I went to the break room, sat down, smoked a cigarette. I still had things to do to finish up, closing up and all that stuff. And I went to stand up, and I could not walk. I'm like, oh my gosh, this hurts. So I just said, okay, I got to go home. You guys got to do this. You do this. You do this. I got to go home. I can't walk anymore. The next day, my shoes would not fit. And it didn't even get better even after I rested it. So I did go to like a stat care. And they said plantar fasciitis, however you pronounce that. And I'm like, no, it's not. But whatever, because I don't trust doctors anyway. I don't work for insurance. I never did, because I always knew that a human body heals, and I figured all this food we're eating, has vitamins and stuff. But either way, I let it go. And then but just before that, oh, you're going to go out. Good for you. Run. But just before that, I came into a depression, and I still worked for 2 years through my depression. But my depression, I actually kind of felt exactly when it happened. Hey, your yard. Belle, your yard. And, you're silly. And, anyway. What are you doing? Buck, you gonna go back out? Huh? You gonna go back out? No? Go on. No? She couldn't even sit to pee. Good girl, good girl. So anyway, well, I'm just saying, I've eaten meat a lot, and I got into the depression because of this leg or hip or whatever. And I went and I made sure it wasn't a broken hip. And when I got the depression, I went and found out, and they diagnosed me with a transitional depression because I couldn't move the way I always did, so they figured that's what it was. But I'm not really sure because hindsight, I think it was because I also switched to another job because of my leg, because I couldn't walk as fast and stuff. I switched to another job just to work, and I could have my own schedule and stuff. So I would go in, open the shop, go get a Coke, and go down the basement and do what I was doing. And Coke. That was it. Coke, Coke, Coke. And I don't remember drinking water. And I think I might have just been so dehydrated. It made a depression. And even psychologists don't even ask, what your diet is or anything. But other than that, I thought I ate right. Well, anyway, there's that. And February 2004 then is when I quit my last bit of employment, and I hadn't been employed since then. However, I did know how to go out and make money, I did a couple wedding plannings here and there and stuff. I didn't need a lot of money. But either way, I ate. Going back out, Buck? No? You going back out? Go on. Go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Anyway, I don't even know what I was going to say then. Well, still, the foreshadowing plus hindsight. I knew meat was so good for me, but I didn't realize the other stuff was bad. And then here, when I decided, after watching Joe Rogan and stuff, and Joe Rogan mentioned the mind clarity, I realized that's what I needed. Because right now, pretty much all I do is talk to these dogs. Because everybody else is busy, so I just talk to these dogs. And then I started doing tarot cards, and I thought, man, I can't even think of this. Oh, you shits. And I couldn't even read them correctly. I knew the words, but they weren't coming out of my mouth. That's like, if you don't use it, you lose it, as far as, articulation and shit like that goes. And I thought, okay, carnivore. And that day, I decided to do it. So like the next day, I decided to start carnivore. Now I live with my daughter and my son-in-law, and these guys are great cooks, from baking to smoking ribs and briskets and all that stuff. Everything is great. They always eat meat, but they always have pasta, bread, sweets, ice cream, everything, chips, pop, everything. But I said to my son-in-law as he was leaving, I said, hey, I'm starting the carnivore diet today. And he looked at me, he goes, I was going to make risotto tonight. And my jaw dropped. And I'm like, because that's like one of his best meals. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stick to carnivore. And that was like mid-September. And when he made that risotto, I just had a couple little pieces. But I went out and I got myself some chuck steak, some burger, some hot dog, some bacon, some eggs, and all that. And that's what I've been eating for the most part. But I've bought apples too, which I gave the rest of those to my son because I couldn't even stand them. I've tried a potato. My son-in-law would go to a place and bring home my burger with no bun, but with fries, and I would try it. I'm like, oh my gosh, these things taste like crap. And, but I still do. It's not cheating. It's just what I want to do. And it is the sugar addiction, I guess. But I would have like a sweet tea or something. Like today I have lemonade, which is like concentrated lemon juice and water and ice, but with a teaspoon of sugar. A teaspoon, which I usually would have done like 20 tablespoons. I don't know. But anyway, this carnivore stuff, like within 3 days, I was able to get up off the dining room chairs in one movement. It wasn't like moments of creaking and moving. I can walk with the walker fairly steady. I can do it with one hand, but I think I'm going to have to get one of those quadro foot kind of a cane. God, this is beautiful out here. And anyway, and then I found all of you guys Kelly Hogan, what a cheerleader. I'm like, look at her go. I was so impressed how she should be a cheerleader. She probably was at one time, but she would be a real cheerleader, not one of the mean girl cheerleaders. She would be a cheerleader. And then Ken Berry and his poop, and I thought that was awesome. And then, Dr. Chafee, I didn't even have to listen to him. I just wanted to look a little bit, but that's okay. And then Carrie Mann. I saw, and everybody, and you guys just kept coming and coming and coming. Dante Ferrigno, Dave Mack, Lindy, Todd, Sean, everybody, you guys were just coming out of every corner of YouTube, and I'm like, look at these people go. I'm in this party. So that's where I am. I'm glad you sat and listened to me to watch my snow. Dogs are in. I have to keep one on the line. Now he's just in. He's waiting for me. Waiting for me to take his saddle off, huh, Buck? But anyway, it's 23 degrees out here in northeastern Ohio. Mike Shaw, take that. Anyway, I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Love you. See you. Bye.